Like many others, I went through a massive dinosaur phase as a kid, and it was largely fueled by one franchise. Welcome to Jurassic Park. I mean, I watched my copy of Jurassic Park 3 so many times that it literally stopped working, and then proceeded to beg my parents to buy me another copy of the DVD. So when I say I loved the initial trilogy, I mean I was obsessed. But then I grew up a bit, moved on to other nerdy obsessions, and now as an adult who analyzes and watches film far more than I should, I've changed my tune on the franchise quite a bit. Jurassic Park is still an all-time classic, but I firmly believe that they should have stopped after the first movie. The concept of Jurassic Park is so brilliant because it partially plays off of that childhood obsession most of us had with dinosaurs. Because let's just be honest, dinosaurs are really cool, and if it was possible to bring them back, someone who had enough money to fund the project would absolutely be on board, and they'd make a pretty penny doing it. As I can't think of any spectacle that would be bigger than having a theme park full of dinosaurs. But this is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this concept. As Malcolm says in the film, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. And this is the true beauty of Jurassic Park, because no amount of money will ever allow someone to be able to play God. Resurrecting dinosaurs might seem fun and potentially be extremely profitable, but thinking that you could control them is fool's gold. Life finds a way, and inevitably there are going to be issues with the park. I mean, just think about how many times zookeepers or anyone who works with animals get accidentally hurt. And then times that number by about 100, because I'm pretty sure a T-Rex or a pack of velociraptors are far more dangerous than what we have at the zoo. You see, making a Jurassic Park is extremely dangerous, but because it has never been done, it makes the allure and potential profit big enough for someone to bite. The movie even had one of the greatest taglines of all time playing off of this idea: an adventure 65 million years in the making. But the fact that it was so long in the making only serves to establish why I think the first film should have been the end of things, as the park can only fail and end in disaster once. Once you lose control of the park, you don't get a second shot. That's the end of things. It might have been good in thought, but when people die and dinosaurs get loose, there just isn't much you can do afterwards. And though it may have taken 65 million years for the first film to be made, it only took 4 years for the second one, and then another 4 years for the third, and then another 14 years for a new trilogy to start. And I think you see where I'm going with this. The reason 6 Jurassic Park/Jurassic World films exist is not because it makes sense narratively, but rather because it is really profitable for the studio to keep churning them out. It seems that the studio spent so much time wondering whether or not they could, that they didn't stop to think if they should. Ironically, the studio serves as a perfect reflection of John Hammond and InGen in the first film, as they are falling into the allure of making a ton of money without stopping to think if this was a property that should be franchised. And narratively speaking, the second film really feels like we're just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks, so we can get a sequel to a wildly profitable film. The second movie literally turns into a Godzilla ripoff by the third act, with the T-Rex cosplaying as a kaiju and roaming the streets of San Diego. And while it's not a horrible film by any means, it is a largely uninspired plot looking for an excuse to get us back to an island full of dinosaurs. Though, if things had ended at the Lost World, I suppose that would have been fine, as in all honesty, the sequel doesn't really add or take away anything from the legacy of the groundbreaking first film. But then came Jurassic Park 3. Now, as I alluded to earlier, Jurassic Park 3 was my favorite of the franchise when I was growing up. But I was about 7 years old at that time, and Jurassic Park 3 is really just a fast food film. When I say that, I mean that it's a cheap imitation of what the original film was. If Jurassic Park 1 was a filet mignon, then Jurassic Park 2 was a chopsteak, and Jurassic Park 3 is a Big Mac. We have cheaper looking dinosaurs, a far lamer excuse to go back to the island, worse acting performances. This movie is kind of the definition of trying to lazily cash a check off of an existing IP, and it didn't even succeed in that goal, as it is the lowest grossing film in the franchise by a wide margin. Now, I won't lie, even as a film nerd, I sometimes enjoy watching fast food movies. Sometimes you just want to turn your brain off and enjoy a bad movie. But it's kind of sad to see the franchise turn into this after starting at such great heights. Now, as far as all the sequels in this franchise go, I find Jurassic World to be the least offensive by far. It serves as a sequel/reboot for the franchise, and I think it captures the heart of the original the most. And maybe it's just because there's 22 years between Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, meaning that Jurassic World can kind of be what Jurassic Park was, but for a younger generation. But seeing the park back open feels fresh enough, even if it does ultimately end in disaster, because, well, of course it does. But the two films that follow Jurassic World are absolutely horrendous, and in my opinion are easily the two worst films in the franchise. If Jurassic Park 3 was a Big Mac, then by this point, I guess these movies are just dog shit. I mean, talk about not knowing what to do narratively. Jurassic World 2 and 3 are throwing a ton of shit at the wall, and none of it is sticking. Not even nostalgia bait could save the third film, because the presence of the OG cast only makes me miss the OG film and come to realize how shitty this is in comparison. All in all, the 5 subsequent Jurassic Park sequels have some fun moments here and there, and I don't think they're all absolutely horrible, but the heart of the original film was all about making decisions too hastily without weighing the consequences, and the fact that nobody can play God. So to then make not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 sequels from this rather philosophical concept all about not doing too much makes me think that this concept went right over the heads of all the studio execs at Universal. And I know that there's 2 Jurassic Park novels, but there's not 6. So stretching this idea this thin was never the plan of the man who created it in the first place either. And this is why I think Jurassic Park should have never been a franchise. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this analysis of the Jurassic Park franchise, please consider dropping a like or subscribing. And remember, this is just my opinion, so if you agree, disagree, or just have strong Jurassic Park thoughts, as always, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Until next time, peace.